What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. I think we've all been here before where you're at like minute 35 of a 50-minute therapy session and it just kind of stalls out. Yeah, and that's when I found out that my cat was just hiding under the bed the entire time. So how did that make you feel? Pretty good. Pretty good. Cool. When this happens, I feel like every therapist has their kind of default approach that they go to when they're not sure what else to do. Some of us might just kind of sit there awkwardly and hope that the client says something. Some therapists use the stare down technique until the client breaks and starts talking. Are you okay? And some folks make it their top mission to just do a deep dive on whatever topic was most recently discussed, however relevant it might be to therapy or not. You know, I realize we haven't spent a whole session talking about your cat yet. Tell me everything. Like, when did you get him? What's his name? What's he like? What color is his fur? What does he smell like? And some folks like to play it straight and are much more direct. You know, I noticed you've been talking about your cat now for 30 minutes when you're here to see me for poor sleep. So why do you think you're avoiding the topic? Which can sometimes work, but not in every situation, and it's not necessarily every client's or every therapist's cup of tea to interact like that. So in this video, I'm gonna offer some tips you can consider using in case you find yourself in the situation where you're in the middle of session, stalled out, and you're not sure where to go next. And as is true for all of my videos, this isn't like a prescriptive piece of clinical advice that you must apply in these situations, but it might just be helpful to have some of these tools in your back pocket, just in case they're useful when you need them. Now, the first tip applies if these stall outs seem to be an ongoing pattern with a particular client. When that happens, you can just observe that pattern out loud with your clients. You know, I noticed in the last 3 sessions or so that our conversation kind of starts stalling out a little bit right when we start talking about your sense of self-worth. And I wonder if there could be kind of a pattern going on there. Have you noticed that pattern? Now, if it's not so much a pattern and it just seems to be happening today for whatever reason, see if you can rewind and pinpoint where you lost the script and then apply one of these tips. You could kind of keep it playful, take the blame for it, and redirect back to where you left off. Okay, excuse me, I think I took us on a bit of a tangent when I was asking about your cat keeping you up at night, but do you mind if we rewind a bit and we go back to the part where you're telling me about your sleep? Or you could try curiously noticing out loud that you stalled out together. You know, we were talking about sleep and then at some point we wound up on kind of a bit of a tangent, it seems like. I wonder if you have any ideas of what might have happened there. Now, the next tips apply whether you can kind of pinpoint where things stalled out or not. Depending on the situation, they might be relevant. One tool that can be a little bit more disarming in a conversation that has the potential to feel a little bit confrontational is to self-disclose appropriately and invite collaboration. You know, I notice I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping our conversation moving forward about sleep. I'm wondering if you notice anything that might be throwing off our conversation a little bit. Or if you're detecting any sort of hesitancy around leaning into the topic that they're there to see you for, you could try utilizing some internal family systems language to acknowledge the part of them that's very much there, seeing you, working with you on a particular item, while there may be a part of them that is hesitating, isn't quite ready to go all in on the conversation. You know, it kind of seems like whenever we just start to touch on the topic that you came to therapy for, our conversation starts to stall out and it's hard to make any headway. So obviously you're here to see me to work on your sleep, but I wonder, could there be any part of you that's feeling a little bit hesitant about leaning into that conversation? It's also always an option to invite direct feedback. Let them tell you what kind of direction they want you to take things. You know, I notice I keep trying to come at this conversation about your sleep and how it's tied to your sense of self-worth from different angles, and it kind of feels like I keep hitting some roadblocks. So I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about things I could change about my approach to make it feel a little bit easier for us to go a bit deeper on this conversation. Also, when it's applicable, you could borrow from prior breakthroughs. So if the client has been able to kind of push through a wall of depth before, but today they're having trouble accessing it, you can point back to that prior time and see if there's anything you can glean from when they were able to get there before and apply it today. Last week, you made this great breakthrough around understanding the tie between your sleep disruption and your sense of self-worth. And for some reason, it's feeling a little bit harder to get back to that level of depth today. So I'm wondering Is there anything about what was going on last week that made it feel more accessible to get to that depth of our conversation that we might be able to kind of borrow from and bring into our time today to see if we can kind of go back to that sense of depth again? And of course, it may just be that your client is distracted by something else that's going on, and maybe that's taking higher priority today. Like if your client is there to see you for sleep disruption, but they got fired earlier today from their job, maybe they're having trouble accessing the topic for why they're there because something really significant happened to them. So it's always okay to kind of check in to see what their needs are for that day. I know obviously we're here to help you with your sleep, but it's feeling a little bit hard to delve into that today. So I'm wondering if there might be other things going on that are taking a higher priority or might be kind of making it hard to access that topic. And it's important to acknowledge that it may be that your client has simply arrived at their treatment goals. They may not necessarily be needing therapy anymore in order to keep moving forward with their lives. And that might be why things are stalling out. So particularly if you're observing that your client seems to have progressed significantly or accomplished their treatment goals, you might check in and say, hey, you had come in to see me for this. Here's what I've observed so far. What are you seeing? Is therapy still a part of your process then? Or are you feeling like maybe it's approaching time to graduate from therapy? This could actually be a cause for celebration when it happens. Now, these are just a few of the tools that I tend to turn to most frequently when things seem to stall out in session. There are certainly other tips and tools that could apply in your situation as well. But hopefully by having some of these in your back pocket, you feel empowered and equipped to support your clients just in case you find yourself in one of those moments where you don't know where to go and the crickets are singing in the background of your session. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes is a comprehensive practice management system. They can help you with scheduling, notes, billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform included for all users, and so much more. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. I've been enjoying sprinkling in some of these more clinically focused videos, especially about topics that we don't necessarily always talk about unless a problem has come up. Feel free to leave a comment below with any tips you would add that I didn't cover in this video for when you've stalled out with your clients. And until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.